Hello and welcome to the Infectious Group Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Recorded at the 33 1/3 Music Appreciation Center in Speakeasy, located just outside of Detroit, Michigan. The Infectious Group Podcast is your source for jammy jams, music news, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Hello. My name is Russ, and with me remotely this week is Kyle and Michelle. And what's good about this is we're recording this week over Skype, which I'll get into in a second, but Michelle doesn't have her camera on, so I can't see when she's bored. So I will just automatically assume that you're hanging on every single word that is going to come out of like you always do.
Right. I have not showered and I'm covered in baby spit up, so that's why my camera's not on.
Fantastic.
Sorry.
Just as an FYI to everyone, our regular listeners or new listeners, the reason for the little bit of a degrade in sound quality this week is that in my family, we had some out-of-state travel this past week, and I don't know why, but Kyle and Michelle want to make sure their baby doesn't get sick, so, they requested that we do this via Skype. Yeah, that's odd, but I'm sure you read it in some parenting book that it's a good idea not to get your baby sick. So having said that, again, for the regular listeners, you've heard us do remote episodes before. If you're new to the show, we are usually all three in studio, and we will return to in studio next week when we have our 100th episode celebration, which I have been putting all over social media, and we have requested people to send clips. Don't send any more clips. We're good.
Don't say that.
Well, we have a lot of people who reached out. It's been an embarrassment of riches. Like, I know you guys haven't heard any of the clips yet, Michelle and Kyle, but we have some awesome content. And yes, of course, everybody, if you haven't yet and you want to contribute, by all means, do so through our hotline at 313-364-9899, or you can email us an audio clip if you want, just talking about any artist or album or song that has had a positive impact on your life. That is all to say that next week, the episode after this one that you're going to hear is going to be our 100th episode celebration. And because of the generous amount of clips that we have to share and discuss, and this is totally something we would do, I believe our 100th episode is going to be at least 2 episodes, if not 3. So
100.1, 100.2, and 100.3.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
We should just release them. We should release them at like 6 a.m, noon, and 6 p.m. on the same day.
There you go.
Yeah.
That means we have to record them all on the same day, and I'm not down. I'm not down. Can't do it.
Right. That does sound, because of the maximum effort you put into the show at all times, you're just worn out, are you?
This is the maximum effort.
I'm aware.
You're looking at the maximum effort.
Very, very aware. Having said that, we have had clips from, and we've said on the show before, that the podcast community has been so supportive of us since literally day one, since we tweeted and we're like, hey, we're a new podcast, all the way up till now. And so a lot of other shows have contributed clips. A lot of listeners have contributed clips. And something that was very surprising to me is this past week, we actually had artists that we've had on the show contribute clips as well. So it's going to be a good time. But we have a great episode for you today. Just one of those topics that kind of crossed my mind that was like, hey, let's bang that out, talk about that in an episode. So we're going to be talking about longevity. And I've got a good couple of points of discussion for us to run through of how and why some artists get to last longer than others, and why, maybe their career's short, but their influence lives on, or vice versa. Maybe their influence is very little, but they've had a career forever. So we will get into that in the second half of the episode. And oh boy, do we have some feedback to share. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Feedback, Joe.
Don't worry about that. Right. There's rock and roll me without feedback.
So the first piece of feedback, and I want to say, I think we have about 10 pieces of feedback to share here, and I believe 9 of them are Michelle-centric.
It wouldn't be feedback without it.
Well, yeah, without Michelle-centric feedback. Sean and Chris wrote in and said, and this is just a general observation, it's funny how hearing how Russ on Infectious Group Podcast almost has become a Michelle BS professor. It's kind of his superpower, I think. So that's fantastic. We had a listener this week reach out to us on Twitter and say, well, actually just kind of tagged us in a tweet. They weren't even a longtime listener of the show and just said, I know I'm late to the party, but I just now discovered Infectious Groove Podcast, and holy cow, like everything I've heard is great, which is awesome. They go by the name EMZ on Twitter, and later in the day, apparently they had been binging episodes and they came across our Taj Jackson interview, and they were like, I've never heard such a frank discussion with any Jackson, and they were really, really, really impressed with that. So that was a good piece of feedback. That's the one that's not Michelle-centric, Michelle.
Oh, good, because I wasn't paying attention.
Right. Damn, I wish the camera was on. Last week we had the Johnny Craig album review, and so we got some feedback surrounding that. And Aaron from I Had to Say It podcast says, another great episode. It's an interesting album, but not my cup of tea, but not the worst thing I've ever heard. As always, Russ and Kyle were very astute in their discussion of the album and the artist, and Michelle was in peak Michelle mode. And I quote, "That's 3 pumpkin spice lattes."
Was that referring to what the album cost?
That was referring to what the album costs, yes. And there's more on that particular topic from you. In addition to that, Dylan from the middle wrote, I also LOL'd at pumpkin spice lattes. And Seth from Thanks for Coming podcast says, I looked up the TikTok song Kyle recommended. As someone who uses the internet, I've never heard the song. Also, Michelle did the correct pumpkin spice latte math right on the spot, and no one gave her props. What the hell? So I love...
I'm really good at pumpkin spice latte math.
That's right. Yeah, that's the one place where you excel.
Yes.
At math. Let's see here. The Geek Peak podcast said, I do love me some Johnny Craig, even though the dude is a horrible person. He has the voice of an angel. And they went on to say, Kyle, that they appreciated that you and I were like, yes, you're going to read this as a bad person, but like, we're here to talk about the music though.
Yeah, I used to refer to him as having the voice of an angel, but then he's such an asshole that I just stopped saying that.
He's been downgraded to just a voice of a slightly elevated human, like not an angel anymore.
Voice.
So here's something fun. Now, you guys know, Michelle and Kyle, I'm at least once a week, I tell you guys, I'm doing a guest spot on another podcast tonight. Like I kind of represent our show a lot on other shows. And we got a note sent to us from infectiousgroovepodcast.com. Someone went there because you can actually just go right there and send us feedback if you don't use social media or anything. And Dayton Johnson went to our website and writes, so I just started listening to the podcast after hearing Russ on the discuss Use Your Illusion on the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. I am hooked. You 3 are a blast. I laugh out loud at least once every episode. You guys are helping me discover new music, so thank you. I'd like to make an album review suggestion. Dream Theater's Images and Words, mostly because I'd like to hear Michelle's head explode. So first of all, welcome, Dayton. Thank you for the feedback. Second of all, I love the fact that we have a brand new listener who heard me on another show, and immediately it's like, and also I have some things to say to Michelle.
Yep.
So, Michelle, just so you know, because I'm certain that you're like, Dream Theater is who now? Dream Theater is progressive rock, and you and your need for songs to be 3 minutes or less, Dream Theater songs make Pink Floyd songs look short. So
hard pass.
So when we come, Dayton, please remember that every fourth album review is a listener pick. So you have a shot to get that in for us.
No, you don't.
It's interesting. I edit the podcast, so I could just edit out the no, you don't. Go do an old episode and find you going yes. Just put that there instead.
You could also just pick that as an album review, and then I would be screwed either way.
Right, yeah. We greatly appreciate all that feedback. As I mentioned, you can go directly to infectiousgroovepodcast.com. You can use our hotline that I mentioned earlier, 313-364-9899, or you can get at us on all social media. So, moving forward in our segments.
Our jammies.
For me, I had a couple of songs, and one song that led to a whole rabbit hole this week was, first things first, I went over to the west side of Michigan last weekend, and there's a great record store over there called the Corner Record Shop in Granville, and they probably have the most 45s I've ever seen in my entire life in their room. They have an entire room that's just enormous that's filled with 45s.
Have I been there?
I believe you've probably been in Corner Record Shop, but I don't think you went back to the 45 room. Like it's if you were standing in the main room of the record store, you wouldn't even know the room is there. So I don't think, but it's enormous. And if I were to guess, there's probably 50,000 45s in that room. That's a flood.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? I'll post a picture on our socials of the room because I took one while I was there, so everybody can see what I'm talking about. In any case, there is an old Badfinger song called "No Matter What" that I just love, and barely scratching the surface on the B section of the 45s. And there it was sitting there. So I got that, and I'm glad to have it in my collection, but that, of course, led to me streaming it a lot. The other thing is, I don't know why, but out of the clear blue sky, I was driving along the other day and had the melody of "In My Room" by the Beach Boys fly into my head. And I just love that song so much, and that's one of my favorite things about streaming. Any song crosses my mind, nearly any song. I can just command my car to stop what it's doing and play it, you know? And so I laid the law down with Google, with Android Auto, and I told it, you know, who's the boss and what I wanted to hear. And In My Room started playing. And then that just led to the whole rest of the week listening to just the amazing material that the Beach Boys have. And then I kicked off my Friday night spin last night with Pet Sounds front to back, just because the week had become so filled with the Beach Boys. So those two songs, but the one song led to a whole Beach Boys rabbit hole for me this week. So those are my Jammy Jams. Kyle, what have you been listening to?
So we went and seen City and Color in concert, and it was fucking fantastic. So leading up to that, I'd been listening, obviously, to a lot of City and Color. And also, he had an opening band there called Dizzy that we ended up missing because the line to get into the venue was so goddamn long.
Oh, boy.
But I had been listening to this band, hoping to actually catch them live, opening for him, and that did not happen. But
the band themselves, is the studio material you've heard is good?
Yes, they're a young Canadian band named Dizzy, D-I-Z-Z-Y. And yes, they do some good stuff, and I was looking forward to seeing them, and that didn't happen. But everyone should check them out.
Right on. Cool. So basically the two artists, one, you've talked about City and Color a great deal, and actually we all have, really. And then the opener, even though you didn't get to see him, you would still recommend everybody check him out.
Yeah, nothing specific from City and Color either, because he wasn't touring for an album. He was just touring to tour because we can tour again.
Sure.
So he played all sorts of stuff, from everything from his first album all the way up to new stuff. So
nice. That's rad.
I was kind of preparing for that by listening to all sorts of stuff, because I figured that he would be doing that because it wasn't for anything specific that he was touring for.
Sure.
But
did he do Fragile Bird?
He did not do Fragile Bird.
Oh, good. If I can't have that song, no one else can.
Bird.
Yeah.
I didn't do Save Your Scissors either, so.
Well, I do have that one. So anyways, okay, cool. Well, that's good. And then, not to be a self-serving plug, but we do have a Spotify playlist that we update every week that is always the artists and songs from our Jammy Jams. And so in addition to the ones I mentioned, like you'll have Kyle, we'll put just kind of a sprinkling of City and Color stuff and Dizzy as well. And then you will also have the privilege of hearing sometimes a half jam from Michelle. Hopefully this week, more than a half jam. Michelle, what have you been listening to?
So I have a whole jam.
Oh, boy.
Jen Wigmore released a new single, which I've been anxiously awaiting for her new album. I think this might be the second or third new single she's dropped, as all the artists do these days before they do the whole album.
That's what the kids are doing.
That's what all the kids are doing. And it's called Hand Over My Heart. And I really dig it. It's, if you like Jen Wigmore, it's just more of the same from her, but I enjoy it. And, I'm excited to see what the rest of the album has in store.
I'm excited. This is news to me because I like her a great deal, and I didn't know that came out. So I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, I follow her on the IG.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've heard of that.
And she posted about it in her stories, and then I clicked on it, and that's how I got here.
This is like a lot of internet use for you.
I did have to jump through several hoops to get there.
Jen Wigmore, in case you ever hear this or your manager or publicist happens to hear this, you need to understand the lengths Michelle has gone to listen to your artist.
It's that's how you know I'm serious.
Oh, for sure.
I'm way serious about my Jen Wigmore. I don't know. Did you go with me for us to that show?
I have seen her. I have only seen her once. Yeah, and it was with you. So I don't know if you've seen her since that show, but I have gone to see her with you.
I saw her previously at the Magic Bag, and it was just magical. So she's great live, and I like all of her material. So if anybody is looking for a new artist, she's not really new, but I would definitely check her out. I don't know what you describe her as, though.
Jeez, I don't know. This is so wide and generic, but rockabilly almost. Like some of the stuff that I've heard from her is almost like not like.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah. Well, and again, cheap plug for the playlist, but throw a couple of her others on there as well as that song so people can get an idea.
Definitely will. She's been my jammy jam before, just in general, but I'll make sure to put it if you've heard some of her songs, if you have access to TV, I feel like her stuff's always in a commercial or Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that. So I'll put some stuff on there.
Right on.
Is it really?
Is it really what?
Her stuff's on TV.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, maybe I just catch it more because I know it, and I watch a lot of my stories,
I just thought Kyle was like, what is TV? Like, how do you have access to TV?
How do you have TV? I don't have TV.
She has a very distinct voice. I just never remembered hearing her on TV. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, that's true too. Like Axel's that way. Like if you ever hear GNR in anything, it's instant. You're like, oh, that's obviously GNR because of how unique his voice is. Yeah. And I would agree with that. She does have a unique voice. It's not as unique as like Wanda Jackson, but it's very unique.
For sure. It's that gravel.
Oh yeah. Which you like a little gravel, don't you? Isn't that what was? I think that was one of the things that knocked your socks off about Steven Tyler, right? Weren't you like, oh,
yeah, I like a lot of gravel.
Yeah.
The gravelier, the better.
We're making up words here on the Infectious Group podcast. We are going to take a break because we are through our first two segments. When we come back, we are going to talk about our main topic, which for this week is going to be longevity. We're going to talk about, how artists get to last longer than others, and we're going to get into some people that are current that we think are going to be in for the long haul. You're listening to the Infectious Group podcast on the Odd Pods Media Network. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
I'm Jamie.
We're Married with Television, marriedwithtv.com. We are a couple of Hollywood normies on the outskirts of the film and TV industry, and we talk about our favorite TV shows, music, and movies, and sometimes they talk back to us.
Sometimes they do.
Our podcast is Married with Television, one word, on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Possibly Amazon soon. And we are a proud member of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Married with TV.
MarriedWithTV.com.
Hi, I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
And we host the Muck Podcast, where we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics.
Hey, Tina, did you know that Elvis crashed the Nixon White House for the sole purpose of getting a DEA badge? And it worked?
What? Or how a gun control advocate senator out of California engaged in gun trafficking with notorious gang leader Shrimp Boy?
Shrimp Boy, I remember him. Okay, so, we cover all of that and more from maladies, madness, mischief, and murder in U.S. politics.
And we also host a bi-weekly interview segment called Lil Muck.
We interview politicians, journalists, activists, and others who share their experiences in politics.
Find the Muck Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and check us out on social media at the Muck Podcast.
We are back. Russ in studio, Michelle and Kyle remote for this 99th episode of the Infectious Group podcast, with closing in quickly on 100, which we are firmly of the belief is going to be 100, 101, and probably 102 as well. So having said that, we are going to get into our main topic of discussion. And we always, these topics don't have to be all end all stuff. When we started the show, we were very clear that we were never going to do, overrated or negative type topics. We're always just trying to do something that's kind of thought provoking. If nothing else, if you're a music fan, these things probably cross your mind. And this thing that crossed my mind this week was that longevity thing. Like when we think about not even one hit wonders, but the type of artists who come out and they have a 3-4 album career and then just kind of disappear into the ether. And then there's also artists that come out and have that 3 or 4 album career, and they either, tour for decades, or even if they don't, they still have a huge impact for a long time, even though their, quote unquote career was short. So that's what we're going to get into now. I always ask everybody's opinions on stuff like this because it's very interesting to me, and I very much feel like I know what Michelle's answer to this is going to be. So I'm going to start with Kyle. My first question for you guys is: do you even care how long an artist's career is? Like Kyle, when someone comes out, do you instantly think like, okay, I hope, like if it's an artist you really love, are you like, oh, I really hope this person's around for a long time, or do you not even care one way or the other?
No, I do, because I'll use like Slipknot as an example. Like, I would be sad if they didn't put out any more music and they weren't around anymore and they didn't tour anymore, because I like their music and I like going to see them live. And artists like that, I think that I would get annoyed by listening to the same, few albums over and over again for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what my direct answer to this question for me is yes, because if nothing else, I need diversity. I want to hear as many voices as possible, as many different voices and opinions and styles as possible. So, the more a career, the more artists that disappear into the ether, the less diversity and voices we have. You know what I'm saying? It's like the same thing you're saying. Now, Michelle, because you're dead inside, I feel like you don't care at all. I feel like if an artist puts out an album and you like that, great. And if you never hear from them again, you don't care. That is my guess for your answer. Michelle, do you care about the longevity of artists?
If it's somebody that I really love, which is, few and far between.
Which I think, let me look at our board real quick. Okay, it's 4. It's 4 artists that you really love.
I, of course, want them to keep putting out albums and touring and doing all the things. But if they stop, like, then we talk about legacy acts. Like, if they stop making new music and they're just doing the 17th farewell tour and stuff like that, then, like, I think we're done here.
Yeah.
But as long as you're, like, actively creating and, like, doing something new and exciting, then and I like you, then that's fine. There's plenty of artists that from when I was in high school, because that was like the emo thing, was that it was just like a one and done thing, and I do cherish those albums, but I can definitely see why they don't have more,
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you mentioned the legacy tour thing, because I don't think I've ever waffled on one topic more than that in my entire life. Like, it really depends on what hour of what day you catch me. Some days, you know what I mean? If you Ozzy, off the top of my head, Ozzy, Kiss, Eagles, GNR. Some days, if you ask me on any of those artists, I will be like, hang it up already. Stop. If you're not going to be creative. And then I feel like if later that day you were like, well, hey, they're playing the ballpark downtown, I'd be like, well, let's go. So, and Michelle, do you not have any interest at all? Like, let me think. And this is kind of my go-to example for you, but Mumford & Sons, let's say they just, Delta was the last album they put out and they never put anything out. And 10 years later, they're still touring. Would you go to see that? Or would you just be like, no, like unless you have new music, I don't care.
I would go to see it to a certain extent. Like if they're doing it for 10 years. Does that make sense?
Well, is that to say that if they were doing the same tour again, you would be like, no, thank you, I already saw this? Or
yeah, like I saw them on the original Delta tour, like maybe in 20 years, and they're like the 20-year reunion of this tour, I would go see it just for nostalgia. But like at some point, like to do 25, 30, 40, 50, like then that's too much for me.
Yeah. Kyle, did you, we didn't have this on our direct thing, but so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. But how do you feel about that? Because you are, far more limited in your concert experience. You are pretty much trying to see almost every artist that you can, so for you, I would think that the legacy tour works in your favor, but I also know you're a creative person, so you probably might have an issue with that. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
It truly depends on the band, right? So like I would much consider Aerosmith a legacy act by now. But I would absolutely, hands down, 100% go see them, no questions asked.
Yeah.
But other groups, I mean, like, if Black Sabbath tried to tour as, even though they can't truly be Black Sabbath, or even Ozzy or stuff like that, I don't think that I would even, their heyday is so far past what would have been worth it to go see. I don't think that I would even bother.
Yeah, I can see that. And, Ozzy's an interesting one because I saw Ozzy many, many, many times. The first time I saw him was in 1991. And I want to say, man, it was about 10 years ago that my wife and I went to an Ozzy show, and like 3 songs in, I was like, we should go. It was her first time seeing him, and I just didn't want her to remember that show.
That's how I am. I don't want to remember such an iconic artist seeing them like that. I don't want to remember an experience now for something that like would have been a million times better like 20 years ago.
Right. And one thing, it's interesting you bring up Aerosmith. Aerosmith has two things in their favor. One, for whatever reason, Steven Tyler does not age vocally. Like the dude, it sounds as good today as he did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And on top of that, Aerosmith has been around for so long, and they were so consistent with putting out records that they have a ton of material. So you're not going to see the same show over and over. One thing in the GNR community that GNR fans complain about consistently is the set lists for GNR are almost always identical. And it's like, okay, well, you have 5 albums in 35 years. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's only so much to work with. Aerosmith, I don't even know off the top of my head. If I was to guess, they'd probably have 20 studio albums,
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So, like you said, I think it depends. And that might even be why I waffle as hard as I do. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe, sure. And then other days, no, stop it. Real quick note for the listeners. Michelle and Kyle do have their baby Zoe, and Michelle is going to be in and out of this episode taking care of the baby because for some reason, again, just like I mentioned in the first half, they're trying to be good parents. So just an FYI, you will hear Michelle come and go during this episode as we get through this discussion.
The baby does not give a shit that we're recording a podcast.
Which is really inconsiderate, just FYI. Like, I don't want to say anything bad about your guys' kid, but I do want to say that's really inconsiderate that she doesn't care that we're recording.
I tried to tell her that, and she just looked at me like I was crazy. Yeah. And then she shit her pants. It was
weird. Yeah. Which is a common reaction to Michelle. I believe most of our listeners, according to our Twitter feedback, listen to Michelle, look at their phone like they're crazy, shit their pants, and then tweet at us.
I feel like that's an accurate description.
Moving along, is there any artists that you can think of that you wish had longer careers than they did, but they're still living? And the reason why I qualify that with living is because, like, of Whitney, Prince, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain, these folks, maybe even those that passed away younger. Of course, I would think most of us are say, yes, I really wish there was a lot more to Amy Winehouse's career. But is there anybody living that either of you could think of that, like, maybe came out, was real hot and disappeared? We can start with you, Kyle. Is there anybody that you can think of that you wish that's still alive that you wish had a longer career?
I don't know why this came to my mind when you just said that, but I really think that Limp Bizkit could have gone much longer and further because the people in that band are very talented for overall. They just they bit the bullet, and then now they are trying to tour again and trying to go back to that, like, 1999, like, I did it all for the Nookie thing, and it's just very, very sad to watch. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that they could have, if things were structured properly, they could have went on to have a much longer career than what they did. I guess that's an easier, more simple way to put it.
For sure. I hear that. And that's adjacent in some ways to some of the examples I'm going to bring up. Michelle, again, I don't think you're loyal enough to any particular artist to care, but could you think of anyone that you thought, I really wish they were around longer?
So as soon as you proposed this last week, I was trying to think, like, are there any acts that, like, I miss that? And I've been thinking about this for a week, and other than, like, people dying, like, I don't think, like, I know you said that these have to be living people. I can't think of.
The only reason why I qualify that is because the automatic answer is going to be someone who passed away too young. Like all of us wanted Buddy Holly longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, and I do feel like, but also if, let's say Freddie Mercury didn't die, then who's to say that they would still be doing stuff? Like, they might have just quit after, like, the next album anyways.
Sure. So, yeah, that's a very active argument in the Nirvana community is, were Nirvana a spent force creatively? Like, who's to say that they would have put out another album as good as In Utero, which, by the way, In Utero is infinitely superior to Nevermind.
Sorry to interrupt. I actually agree that I think Nirvana would have fizzled out pretty soon after. They were on top of the world for a minute, but I don't think that that band and its members did not have the longevity to work with one another for very much longer than what they did.
Well, for sure. And one of the arguments that a lot of Nirvana fans will make is, well, just look at the Foo Fighters career. Dave had all those songs, and Dave Grohl will tell you himself that he was not allowed to write songs in Nirvana. So if you think that, Everlong would have been a Nirvana song, no, Dave Grohl makes the joke. He says, what was the last thing the drummer said to the band before he got kicked out? Hey guys, I got a song. Like he never ever planned. And that's a who's to say situation. So that's the only reason why I focused it on living artists. Like for me, let me give you an example, Michelle. Like for me, this comes in kind of close to what Kyle was talking about. They're almost the entirety of the late 80s rock scene is the greater majority of the members of all of those bands are alive. And you could say that they have a career because most of them are still touring. Like Tom Kiefer is out doing all of the Cinderella songs, almost as Slaughter, Firehouse, a lot of bands from that era still tour, even up to like a Def Leppard and Motley Crue who are still filling, arenas and stadiums. So you could say that they still have a career, but for me, it's a diversity thing. Like I wish. I'm a huge Roger Waters fan. I'm a big Pearl Jam fan. I understand that there's a time and a place for very serious, thought-provoking music. But for me, there's also time for beer and party, which is like what all of those artists provided. You know what I mean? And, Poison, one of their biggest hits, Nothing But a Good Time. I, too, would like to have nothing but a good time. You know what I mean? I wish that those artists were more in the forefront, not because I'm living in the past or, I want to relive the late 80s, although that would be great to do. I just want more diversity out front. Like, that's why I wish those artists were still at the forefront and had a bigger career. So do you understand what I'm talking about when I say that, Michelle?
Yes. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I can't think of any.
Pretty much your emo bands came out, they served a purpose in your life, and whether or not you ever hear from them again, you're good.
Yeah, I guess, and maybe that means that maybe that is a telling sign. Like maybe they're not as prolific of an artist, obviously, if they're not still kicking, they were just kind of like one and done sort of thing.
For sure.
But I appreciated them while they were around. Maybe it's because they didn't get enough appreciation from everyone else.
So that leads us perfectly. Well done on the segue, Michelle. That leads us perfectly into the next question, which is, why do you think some artists get longer careers than others? Do you think it always comes back to their ability to write and produce very, very universal material and catchy material? Or why do you think some artists get to be around for 30, 40, 50 years and others get to be around for 3, 4, or 5 years?
I think you got it or you don't, man.
You think it, see, well, you know what? I'll save my argument for a minute, but for you, it comes down to you either have those abilities to reach everyone or you don't. Yeah,
I feel like there's definitely some things that go against you. Like if you don't have a good record label who's not promoting you, or, if your band breaks up, then obviously then that's it for you, but I do think that there is definitely just something like is that what they say is je ne sais quoi?
Yeah, which is my favorite Dr. Evil moment, where he says, it's what the French call a certain I don't know what. He says I don't know what instead of je ne sais quoi, and it kills me. It's like the most subtle joke in Austin Powers, and nobody gets it, and it just murders me every time. But yeah, so I see what you're saying. So like if they don't have it, then that's why they don't get to stick around.
For sure. But I also believe that there could be some circumstances where the universe is just against you. We've all experienced that in your own personal lives with stuff, like everything seems to go wrong, and that could be the thing. But I think that the bands that do succeed and are around forever just have that je ne sais quoi.
That's certain I don't know what.
Yes.
Kyle, what do you think? Why do you think some artists get to stick around? Same thing, or do you have a variant on your mind?
There is a myriad of things that go into the longevity of any artist, and there's things like, is the artist talented? Does the record label, if they're signed to one, see potential in that artist? If they think that you're more talented than you think you are, then you're going to get a huge push from a record label. And so now record labels are less important. So it's more based on your talent, your ability to be good with social media, your ability to put on a good show, your ability to market yourselves, because you don't have a record label doing all that stuff for you now.
Right. See, and that's interesting what you say. For me, it all comes back to marketing. If you're super talented, you can still have a huge album and then be going back to playing clubs.
I'll use Destiny's Child as an example. Everyone in that group is talented, but the record labels seen that Beyonce was the one to push from that, and she also thought that she was the best one out of the entire group. So they went with that, and boom, there you go. You have Beyonce and you have no Destiny's Child now.
Right. Yeah, and that's an offshoot too, where exactly what you're saying, where like some bands should have been able to stick around, but the lead singer was like, hey, guess what? The money splits better one way.
And some people have a team around them that is good enough to just keep the ball rolling no matter what. Like, you could use Drake as an example. Is he the best rapper, the best singer? No, absolutely not. But he has a team that it will push to no end to keep him at the top, and that's where he sits at.
Yep. In my notes for this, I had the question that I was going to pose to you guys, and my notes said exactly this. This is all marketing. Like, to me, it all comes down to marketing. You take a band like Led Zeppelin, who was around for, I want to say 9 albums from about 68 to, I think, 1980. If they didn't have a marketing machine behind them that they do, they wouldn't have the legacy that they do, and when they were out, the marketing machine that was huge behind all the records that they put out. There's no saying that those records would have been huge without that amount of marketing with it, but without it being, for lack of a better term, shoved in everyone's face, Yeah. And I feel like the artists that have those short careers, what happens is they just don't get that marketing push. Like you said, you take something like Limp Bizkit, what you brought up earlier. Limp Bizkit was very much a time and very much a place. Like, if if aliens came down to Earth and said, well, quick, we need to know what 1999 sounded like, you would throw on Limp Bizkit, because that's what that sound, you know what I mean? That's what they sound exactly like that. And the record label, pretty much, the clock switched over to 2000, and the record label was like, okay, well, we're done with that now. So,
yeah.
Do you think, for Limp Bizkit's case, do you think that type of music isn't as popular anymore, or I'm not really in that scene, so I'm not really sure if that was just that entire genre of music was mostly a time and a place.
At least for me, Kyle, I'll let you get your thoughts in on this. For me, I feel like it could be. But again, I feel like the record label was just like, okay, well, we're done with that genre now.
Yeah, rap rock does still, I guess, exist in certain places, but it's definitely not on the forefront like it was when Limp Bizkit was doing their thing.
For sure. Moving forward, we always try and talk about a bit of hope and what we think about the future. And for this one, we're talking about here, now, today, artists that are current, that are here now, today. Do you think there are any that we could be talking about in 20 years that, that will be a Led Zeppelin or a Beatles or something along those lines? Now, I'm not talking about strength of songwriting. We covered that. We're not talking about whether or not these are great artists or great songs. We're talking just about the longevity and who you think from, that's current today. Who do you think is going to have that longevity that in 20 years we could be doing an episode talking about how they're still touring or their new album came out? Michelle, did anybody cross your mind for that?
No, honestly.
Fantastic. I literally started with you because I thought you would have something to contribute to this one.
I would, when you said that, I was thinking somebody like maybe Taylor Swift, since, I feel like she's definitely on the forefront. She does like those documentaries, and she's definitely got something going for her. But I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if she might just fall off, and like those will. It's so hard for me to say. And then I was thinking somebody, I don't know. I feel like Kanye West could be another one. He's definitely somebody who's always in the forefront of media and doing stuff. So those are the only 2 people that come to mind, but I can't say for sure.
So let me give you the 4 that came to my mind first, and then you let me know if you can argue with these. How about that? And then we'll get a list from Kyle, because I assume Kyle has a list. And I think Kyle and I are going to match up on at least one of these. In a roundabout way, you and I matched up, Michelle, because Kanye was the first person that came to my mind. I think Kanye absolutely will be a media thing easily in 20 years, and his career has already been, probably 20 now. 15, 20, something like that. Foo Fighters are another one that I had. I think Dave Grohl will keep trucking along, and that they will always be out in the forefront. No matter how much people try and tell us rock is dead all the time, I believe that the Foo Fighters will consistently continue to put out material of various quality. But I do believe in another 20 years that we will still be talking about the new Foo Fighters album or tour or whatever. Pearl Jam, I think, is absolutely in that discussion. They've been at it for 30 years already, and I see no reason why we won't be talking about Pearl Jam's 50th anniversary tour or the album they're releasing on the anniversary of their 50 years of since 10 came out. Now, this last one is a little outside the box, and I want you guys to hear me out on this. Kendrick Lamar. I think Kendrick Lamar is just now getting started, and I realize that this guy's been around for at least a decade. But I feel like Kendrick Lamar is just now getting started in the effect that he's going to have on the future of rap and hip hop. And I feel like he's only going to get bigger in public perception, because for me, Kendrick Lamar for the first 5 years of his career was kind of a if you know, you know kind of thing. Like a lot of people didn't know about him, and now he's starting to get more and more of a groundswell. And again, I want to be clear for anybody listening, I'm not acting like this is some underground artist no one has heard of, but I also wouldn't say that he's huge in the public perception. Like music fans know who he is and appreciate what he does, but I don't think that yet he has hit that peak, and I believe he's going to in the future. Before I go to Kyle for your opinion on that and your list, Michelle, was there any of those that I said that you are like, no, that's crazy, that's not going to happen?
I could see Dave Grohl. I don't necessarily see the Foo Fighters, and I don't know how to explain that other than like, I know that he's in the Foo Fighters, but he I feel like he's, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like him on his own is a bigger name and a bigger deal than the Foo Fighters is.
Yeah,
but
no,
that was it. I agree with the rest of what you said.
I hear that. Kyle, first of all, just before we get your list, the one I'm really interested in hearing your opinion on is what do you think about my thoughts in throwing Kendrick Lamar out there?
I hope that he is around for a long time, but I honestly think that there isn't a lot of room currently for conscious rap, people who care about themselves and other people and really, really care about the craft of rapping.
Yeah. And
he is one of those people that do. And I don't honestly think that he likes all the attention and fame either.
Sure.
There's been talk of, until he just recently appeared on Baby Keem's album, that he kind of just disappeared from the forefront of everything.
Yeah.
And obviously intentionally, because he's super talented. So if he wanted to be in the limelight, he would be.
Yeah.
So it worries me that he might just be like, man, I'm not, like, I came here and have done what I can do, and I'm out.
Yeah. So basically you're saying that you hope he does and you think he could, but he may not want to.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And how about this? We'll meet back on our 1000th episode in 20 years and we'll see. Who knows? We could even be like, there was a band called Pearl Jam? Huh. You know. So Kyle,
I think you mean REM.
Yeah, obviously REM, Pearl Jam, easy mistake. Kyle, what kind of list do you have for us? I feel like we probably matched up on Kanye, but hit us. What do you got?
There are artists that are going nowhere, and that we'll see for a very long time. I mean, Kanye, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Drake, Garth Brooks. I'm trying to think of more. I don't think Beyonce is going anywhere. I don't even like Beyonce, but she's going to go down as being like up in the upper echelon of female singers.
Yeah.
Eventually. I'm forgetting a lot of people. There's lots of...
Side note, I was watching a video yesterday that was heavily critiquing the live-action remake of The Lion King, and they were like, and so many iconic songs. And they were like, when they got together, were they like, hey, let's just have Beyonce sing those songs, but instead of the way that they're supposed to be sung, she'll just sing every syllable she's ever heard. And I was like, well done. Yeah, that's accurate. One I want to ask you about, if you had had this conversation with me 2 years ago and you even started to say the name Justin Bieber, I would have been like, erroneous, wrong, no. But that dude in the last 2 years alone has like reinvented himself enough to where I think you're totally right. I think his career's got a much stronger set of legs than even if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago.
Well, have you got the fever?
I do not. Now, okay, I don't want to get into HIPAA violations here, so I don't appreciate you asking me about my medical history on the show. But I will.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Let me say this. I have recently purchased my first Justin Bieber album, and while I don't dislike it, I am showing no current signs of Bieber fever.
None at all?
None at all so far.
Not even a little hint?
You're really getting into my personal business here, and I don't appreciate it.
I'm sorry. I'll just stop. Okay.
That's
nothing Justin Bieber, but I thought for sure you might have gotten a little bit of a sweat.
No, nothing so far. And again, I can't stress enough, I don't dislike it. Like, I'm not mad that I bought the LP. I just don't love what I heard. But the thing for me is, if you had even asked me 2 years ago if I would ever bought a Bieber record, I would have been like, no. The guy reinvented himself enough to where I became interested. So that's my perception of it. So Kyle, that's what I was saying. Go ahead.
And a lot of the artists that I mentioned are signed to big record labels, and they have so much invested into them that's part of the reason why the push continues, is because if the record label thinks that you're a cash cow, they're going to get every single little penny out of you.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so many artists that we could ask about that had they not passed away early from exactly that. From exactly that. I always, Elvis Presley, whenever people start to get into his material and they always say, I know he, the cause of death is a heart attack, but what happened to him? And I always tell people Elvis Presley died from being Elvis Presley. The record label literally was like, we need you in the studio as often as possible. We need you on the road as often as possible. And if you could not take time to breathe or have a break or take care of yourself, that would work really well for us. And
it sounds super reasonable.
Yeah. Which is how you pass away at 42 years old, and then they just get to sell your legacy afterwards anyways, so you still are cashing in for them,
Yeah, that's what they wanted, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, this has been a very fun discussion for me. I'm really glad that you guys liked this idea so much, because I do think it's something that a lot of music fans wonder about. I think there are a lot of artists that come out outside of you, Michelle. I feel like there's a lot of... I was going to
say, this is not anything I've ever wondered about. And when you suggested it last week, I was like,
You're like, wow, people actually care if there's art. Wow. Okay. I had no idea.
That's not what I meant. I'm just saying, I never... I just figured it was the je ne sais quoi. That's what I thought. You either had it or you don't. I didn't really figure out that it was something that would... Like you said, either have it or you don't. But I didn't think about the it's marketing, that it's the record labels, that it's it's all these things that add up. And so I learned something here today, as I usually do.
And again, artists all over the world have been put on notice. If you don't have it, Michelle will not care. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah, Kyle, you had a parting thought for everyone?
Yeah, I will say that you will notice now it's more important. It used to be if you could get a record label to believe in you, then you would get a push, and then you would be able to convince people that you were something because you had all this backing behind you. Mm-hmm. But now, because the record labels are much less important, it is up to the artist to not only believe in themselves, but get you to believe in them and for them to sell themselves to you. And it's all going to come down to social media and marketing.
For sure. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more on that. And look at that, Kyle. You've given us an idea for a future episode to talk about that, like the future of marketing and how artists are going to take care of themselves and whether or not Michelle cares if they're able to market themselves or not. So, yeah, that should be a fun topic to get into eventually. As far as our next topic, we have been talking about this longer than GNR talked about Chinese democracy. Our 100th episode is finally here. So the next time you hear from us, we will be celebrating having put up with each other for 100 episodes, having worked around everything that we had to work around with which Michelle commented on a very recent episode. She enjoyed the global pandemic. I remember her.
Oh my God, that's not what I meant.
That is what you said, though.
Is that going to be on the clip show?
No, actually, I didn't dig up any clips of us for this. I really wanted to focus on all the support that we've got from people from other podcasts and listeners and artists. So I didn't do a greatest hits of us for this one, but when next time we do, you saying that you enjoyed the global pandemic will be included in that episode. I will include the full context so everyone knows exactly what you said when you said it. No digital, no manipulation. But I promise you, the clips that we have got from the listeners and the artists are fantastic. They are exactly what we requested of people to turn in. I will tell you in advance that I got choked up listening to more than a few of them, and people talking about how much music meant to them and the positive impact that it's had on their lives. And I cannot wait to share this with everyone. Michelle, I know you don't like to feel feelings, but it may happen during the...
Should I bring a box of tissue?
I would appreciate it if you would, yes.
I'm going to blow my nose so many times.
Yeah, it's going to be great for the audio quality.
Let's be honest here. You don't use tissues. You use toilet paper.
Right, yeah. So I'll just put a couple of rolls down here on the table.
I have recently upgraded to tissues.
All right. Well, you can hear more about that on Michelle's other podcast. Looking very much forward to next week and sharing with you the 100th episode celebrations. And if you have comments, questions, concerns, or Michelle-centric feedback, please make sure you use the avenues that you always do, that we have so many different avenues available for you to share with us. We love hearing from everybody, and it really, really helps us out as a show to know that your opinion and what we're saying is having an impact and so on. So we greatly appreciate that. Like we always say about this time, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
The Infectious Groove podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Opening credits read by Stacey Robinson. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.